a change this is going to be. This is the nicer seat. You guys probably seen the driver's seat in a lot of the videos, but it's going to be cool. Get all this stuff replaced. Man, it's going to be nice. We're going to restore these seat tracks and take care of that, make sure they're nice and painted. Looks like the springs in the bottom here, at least as far as I can tell, are in good shape, so I was a little worried about having to replace those, but that's okay. So we're just going to work on getting this taken apart. I'm really going to try to pay attention where everything goes, but that's the good thing about making these videos. We get to do this together. You guys get to see how it does, and I get to see what I did if I forget. So we'll start with getting this seat back off. Phillips right there. And then you've got to release the seat, bend it forward. We've got 2 more Phillips and one right there as well. We're gonna get those off, see what we see. Okay, and it looks like this. Just you gotta lift up. Ooh, let's see what we see in here. Yeah, okay, so there's these 2 tabs that hook into the back of here. Let's see what we have here. We're just gonna make note. Flap, the hog rings. I think everything just kind of hog rings to the back of the metal back here, so. Okay, now we're gonna separate the 2 sections of the seat, and we have to get that retainer clip off, and I will tell you, it does not come off that easy. This side, it just popped off, but the other side, I just had to use a pair of pliers to cut it, and I'll replace it with a C-clip or buy the retainer clips again. But when you're doing this, note the direction of these brackets, because they are specific to each side, and this is what holds that side plate on. So this is your seat catch. Keep it from flopping too far forward. You can see mine's all bent, so I am going to go ahead and remove this retaining ring as well so that I can re-straighten this. Yeah, this side was quite the pain. I had to use this pry bar pretty good. I almost wonder like where that seat catch was all bent up, if something didn't happen here. I felt like there was a little edge, but that's all you got to do is just pull those apart. But I don't know, be ready for some wrestling. Whew, so now we got them apart. We can go ahead and take this off, which we got to get these catches. The left side here is already hand tight. Okay, so we're gonna have to get this side out with a T50, and it's a star head. So once those 2 T50s are out, this piece just slides right off. Nasty. Look at that. So I found me another treasure. Let's see what this says. Yeah, no words. You guys have done this before. What's the neatest thing you found in your old seats? Okay, now we can work on this bottom a little easier. We're gonna go ahead and remove these springs. So this has just got kind of a spring on a wire, and it'll slide right over on both sides. Okay, that's what I'm talking about right there. Okay, so we have 3 other springs. This one's the next lightest one. These 2 operate your lock and unlock mechanism for the tracks, and that wire is what operates this side. When you pull the handle, ooh, that's a stout spring. There we go. So that's that one. The next largest. And then this keeps your seat springy when you go forward and backward. It's not too bad. It's bigger, but it doesn't have as much tension on it as that one I just did. So of course, well, they're not too bad. I guess they're not totally bound up when I say too bad. Now, that one feels pretty good. Okay, now we can get these tracks actually off the seat bottom. The one side you have to access down through here. It's a 1/2 inch. Okay, so we'll get that one out. And we should be able to slide this back and get the other one up here. And then these two on this side are actually outside of the track. There we go. So I'll note that previous owners must have booger welded these little pads on the bottom. I'm not sure why they did that other than to maybe raise the seat a little bit, but I'll probably take those off. And also all 4 bolts, 2 on each track, they're all the same. Okay, we have a few more springs. There's 3 of them that are your seat springs. In order to get these out, I think you got to bend these metal tabs that retain them out a little bit, and then they'll just kind of come off. Looks like you got hog ring here and here on these springs to help hold that together. So we're going to make note of that. And then the other thing that I want to do is I was going to put a Sharpie mark anywhere that I found hog rings. That way I have a reference when I go to put the other one back on. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. So now we can undo our other 2 springs. Looks like 2 more hog rings. And that goes through the wire in the back of the seat pad and this spring edge. So we'll clip those. So now, looks like we've got these plastic clips underneath of here that hold this onto the bottom lip of the metal. So we're just gonna get some tension relief here. So there's 1 metal prong there and 1 there. And you can see the inside of this cover, there's like a plastic band that folds over and hooks. So there we go. There's a lip that curls under, and that's what this plastic hooks into. So it's kind of a pain, but you just got to push down and then push the material down. So push it down on the seat gives you the slack that you need. And push the material down and get it out down lower than that clip. All right, totally released. So you'll note that your wire loom spring hangs on to these 3 tabs. And it's just laying on there, so we're going to take that off, figure out how we're going to refurbish that. Nice. One of the things I've noticed that makes me happy is that the pads seem to be pretty good. Not too awfully broken down, so we'll see what that looks like. Okay, so now we're just going to fold this cover up and around. Give us some room here to work, because the next thing we need to do is get the rings that hold this part to the seat bun. You see they're attached to a rail down in there. So I think when this goes back together, it's pretty intuitive. These hog rings don't have to be exact, and really it looks like from the factory they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 over there and like 3 over here. So just put it back together however you feel comfortable. As long as you get hog rings in the critical locations, it seems like it'd be okay. So we're gonna go ahead and clip these off. Now there's a wire that runs through your seat pad down here, and then there's a wire in your upholstery, your cover, that these hog rings are holding together. That's what holds it onto the seat bottom. So on these, you want to be sure you don't cut either of those wires. You just want to cut your hog ring. So there we go. Yuck. And you can see here, down in this foam, is your metal wire that you were going to be hog ringing to. All right, so we're going to fix this up. Just going to get creative. This is actually some wire I have from a pet fence. So I'm just going to go through and weave that, maybe do 1, 2, and 3. So now we're going to move on to this seat top. It's pretty crusty and roached out too. So we're just going to take a look here before we start tearing into things and see what we have. So back here we've got this flap, a couple rings, some more listing wire all the way around. This looks like it's in pretty decent shape. I feel some hard plastic under there, so we're going to inspect that as well. So underneath of there, we just had this metal piece. It's a seatbelt retainer, I believe. No plastic, but we're just going to go ahead and get those hog rings peeled off and see how it looks underneath. So what we've found is the easiest way to get rid of these rings is to not cut them, but to just grab and twist. So future me is also going to tell you, before you remove this foam, to make some marks on where the metal meets the back of the foam. This will be important later when you reposition your foam, and you'll see why when past me demonstrates how not to put the foam on the frame. Okay, future me again, and I'm going to tell you, as soon as you get this seat back separated, do that first, and go ahead and get some paint on this. I'm using that tractor, truck, and implement spray, and it takes a little while to dry, so while you're working on the bottom there, you can have this drying, so move things along a little better. Right, Jack?
Yeah.
Okay, got all those undone, and then there was some hog rings here. Total of 5 corresponds to those holes, and then you got another wiggly wire in here that we'll probably have to remove. So after looking at this other side, there's of course hog rings all around that bead. So I think it's going to be easier to just slide this rack out. And this top piece of foam should come with it. Okay. Yeah, now we can peel from the top too. Oh, that duct tape is so sticky and gross. Okay. So yeah, essentially we got it all unpeeled except for right around here, those listing wires. So now we're going to be able to fold this around and cut those hog rings out of there. So I'm going to go ahead and get all of these hog rings out, and that should free the cover from the foam. Okay, there we go. Same deal. Got this listing wire around here, Another one here, here on the top, and here on the side. So, man, look at that. I mean, these are very nice and identical to the original. I mean, even down to the detail here, really cool. Yeah, it's gonna be nice to get rid of this. And look at that. Old versus the new. So noticeable differences are no wavy wire, so we'll have to remove that from here to put that where it needs to be. And then the internal listing wire where your seat back is not existent on this piece here, so we'll do that. And then I noticed here, so you've got 1, 2, and 3 flaps with the listing wire in it. But on the new one, it's all one piece, all the way around.